Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel today. This is a men clothing YouTube channel where we teach you how to use patterns to create unlimited design. Unlimited in quotes. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful top. It's actually a peplum top, but if you notice, there is no joining between the peplum effect and that of the upper bodice, okay? So we're going to learn how that fullness was added, as you can see it on the one I illustrated using a paper. We're going to learn how to make that. So if that is what you want to learn how to make, keep watching this video till the very end. Firstly, you'll be needing your basic bodice front from your shoulder to your hip line, okay, to wherever your top length, your blouse length is. You're going to be needing that, and your basic dart, side bust dart, and of course your waist dart, which goes from your bust point to the midpoint of your hip, right, to the midpoint between your waistline and your hip. So now I'm using my marker to make this dart visible so you guys can see it clearly. Okay, so this is what the pattern. You have your waistline, your bust line, and of course your basic dart in place. Now you're going to be taking your sleeve to attach to these very parts of your front bodies. Of course, whenever you see me attach sleeve, then know that we're about to do something that has a cape, or there are numerous designs where you can be attaching sleeves like so. So now we're going to be attaching the sleeves like so, and this part is for this very design, or this design part of it that has a cape. Okay, now you want to look closely to see that this cape is not an off shoulder. It started from somewhere around the shoulder. Look on the mannequin properly, you find that it is not an off shoulder. So from the shoulder, I went in by 1 inch. You can decide to use 0.8, whatever, but 1 inch is perfect. Okay, and so I'm going to be giving a swooping neckline curve like so to meet my armhole area like so. From that very point, okay, swooping neckline to meet my armhole area like so. This is also an asymmetric neckline, okay? So having done that, you want to know that we are cutting off this part, and since we are cutting off, we are going to contour the neckline so that it does not gap. Of course, since we are going to be cutting off, we will contour the neckline so that it does not gap. Okay, so now I'm joining my neckline contour dart, and of course I'm going to be imputing my bust arc so I can impute the dart properly on top of my bust arc. Alright, so that is what I'm doing now. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please do auto subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you'll be the very first person to know when I post videos like this. Thank you. So for the bust dart, I'm going ahead to impute it now, and I'll be drawing out the dart like so. And this is what it's going to look like at this very point. So now I want to determine the length of that cape which went into the sleeve on the other side of the design of this top. So now I decided to use this very point, which is my arms cycle, no, what is it called? My upper round arm. I decided to use the length of my upper round arm. And for the other side, which the cape went into the side seam, I went in 1 inch above my waistline. So I'm going to be joining these very points with a ruler like so. And of course, I'll go ahead with my marker to make it visible so you guys can see what the whole of the cape design is going to look like. So of course, this is what we are having right now as our cape design, okay? So when you're drafting yours, this is what it should also look like. Now heading over to the other part of the sleeve, I added a fresh pattern paper at the tip of my shoulder, which is close to the armhole area like so. Okay, and also you want to consider that this part is not also an off shoulder, though you can pull it down when you're putting it on, but originally it is not an off shoulder. So now I went ahead to square a line, and from that line I squared, I kind of made the line visible with my marker so you guys can see it. You want to square a line from the tip of the shoulder that went across the armhole area, and from that line I squared, I went ahead and marked 4 inches on the line. Now I'm going to be connecting the 4 inches like so to my bodice. And I'm drawing a line like so to make it visible so you guys can see it clearly. Now on the shoulder, I'll go ahead to mark 1 inch. You can use 0.8, you can use, I think 0.8, 1 inch is okay. So it has that, that effect that it is on, a bit on the shoulder. So it's going to have that effect that it is a bit on the shoulder, it's not off the shoulder. So I haven't done that, this is what it looks like, okay. Also, because this part is also a cutout, an asymmetric neckline, of course, the whole swooped area, we are going to be cutting it out. I'm also going ahead to contour this very part of the neckline also. And just same thing like we did to the other side, we're going to be doing it to this side. You mark your bust arc, and on top of the bust arc, you include your dart measurement and you connect the points. So I haven't done that, this is what it's looking like. I actually marked the dart the wrong way. It's supposed to be facing this way. See, the other one is facing this way. So I had to remark it. I don't know if you've taken note of that when a dart is facing this way, especially this whole contour dart, because it's not a two-way thing. How do I explain? When one is facing this way, the other one has to face this way. I don't know if you've taken note of that. So I found that I made a mistake and I had to correct it. So I'm using my marker to draw broken lines between the one that is the actual dart, so you guys can do that. Of course, this is the dart, so I hope it's visible now. So this is the dart, the neckline contour dart on both sides. So this is what the pattern looks like for now. Then I went ahead to draw in lines. This line is going to serve as my line for the slash and spread. As you can see, this very part of the sleeve was gathered. So that line is going to be the line where I'll slash and spread to gather it. I did this so it's quite explanatory for you guys to understand that this is what we are doing and this is where we are heading to. Okay, so it will be nice that you practice this whole designs. Okay, practice is going to help you. It's going to go a long way to help you perfect your artistry. So it will be nice that you practice them, and if you do, please leave the picture of whatever you've done in my Instagram handle. I would love to see it. If you've practiced any of my tutorial, be sure you send me a picture on IG, Instagram, okay? I would love to see it so I can repost it here on YouTube. So now we're going ahead to cut out. So I made sure that this very part of the sleeve, I had to cut it starting from where that cape effect is stopped for the upper area, okay? Of course, the cape is going all the way down, but I want the sleeve to stop at this point. I didn't want it to go all the way into the armhole like so. So I wanted to stop at this point, which is perfect. So this is what it looks like. Now we'll trace out the whole of the cape. Of course, we always do that when we have things to trace out. If you've been following me on this channel, you should get used to me tracing out. So we're going to be tracing out the whole of the cape, okay? I'm gonna have to do that, and this is what it looks like. If you notice, you'll find that I only included my contour darts. I didn't include the side of this side bust dart that went into the cape. I only included my contour darts, okay? So now we're going ahead to cut our symmetric neckline off since we've traced out the cape. And also we're going to be removing that part of the sleeve, and we'll set it aside so we can use it later. So we'll set this aside, and of course we are going to be using it later. So now we'll remove this very sleeve parts that went into the sleeve because we no longer need it. Okay, we've traced out the cape, we're no longer going to be needing it. So I'm going ahead to remove it right now. This video is actually long, but yeah, you guys, it is worth it. Okay, if you put in keen interest, you're going to make this blouse and it will look perfect. So now the next thing we are going to do is to start working on the main bodice, of course closing our darts, manipulating it, and also especially that very peplum effect. You want to stay tuned to see how I achieved that, okay? So I've closed out my neckline contour dart and I opened it at my side bust dart, okay? So now heading over to the lower part of it, that is the peplum effect. This is what we are going to do now. On my bust part line, I'm going to be cutting all the way like so. On this very bust part line, please, I'm going to be cutting all the way like so. Now when we get to the waistline, you will stop, okay? And then you're going to be cutting on that waistline. Now this does not alter the fact that the waistline will still be fitted on you, okay? This does not alter the fact that the waistline is still going to be fitted on you. Have you ever watched a video where I made an A-line gown? You would notice that there are similarities between that A-line gown and this here. And also a 6-piece skirt. You will notice that there are similarities between what I'm doing now and the 6-piece skirt pattern. So as you can see, it is the tilting is just a very little one. So it's not going to affect your waist area. In fact, it's going to give you the very nice fit for this particular design. It's not going to affect your waist area or whatever. It's going to give you the very perfect fit for this design, okay? So now same thing we are going to be doing to this very side. So the same way we worked on this part, that's the same thing we are going to be doing to this very part. Now if you watch closely, you'll find out that because we tilted it to add fullness, so we can have that, that peplum effect, the length of the sides became longer than that of the center front. But do not worry, we're going to fix it right now and you'll see what it's going to look like. So I'm trying to make sure that the distance between them is equal. Okay, I'm trying to make sure that the space between them are equal so we can have uniformity in the design. So what we are going to do is, using my tape, as you can see, the length is different. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys because of that tilting. So using my tape, I'm going to be checking the actual length, which is 8 inches. Okay, now we'll go ahead to mark 8 inches all the way around the hemline of this top, like so. And this is going to give it that curved effect at the sides. Okay, it's going to give you that curved effect at the side, thereby enhancing the perfection of the dress, the beauty also. I want to give you that curved effect. When you have a flare, it has that circular curved effect. So that is what we are going to achieve now, to have that curved effect, thereby enhancing the beauty of the peplum design. So now this is what it looks like. I'm going ahead to cut out the excesses around it. So this same thing is what we are going to do to the back for the lower part of it, but the upper part is different. So you want to stay tuned and you watch how to achieve the cape effect and also that gathered sleeve effect of the back. So we're going ahead to sew up our bust dart, our side bust dart, and of course you are not leaving the waist dart like that. You're also going to stitch it up to get that fitting till you get to the waist, where there is going to be fullness to create the peplum. So after you've stitched your side bust dart, okay, you're also going ahead to stitch the dart from the waist all to the bust point, whereas you're going to be leaving this part open. Okay, so of course, even on your paper, you're going to be cutting open that dart so that you can use your chalk or a marker pen or whatever it is you're using to include your lines on your fabric. You can use it to mark on that part of the dart when you place this pattern on your fabric, so you can sew on that mark. Remember, whatever you're sewing, the dart you're stitching up has to stop at the waistline, thereby releasing the fullness at the hip region to form that peplum effect. You're going to see that right now. So assuming it's on your sewing machine, you're going to be sewing it up like so. You're just going to be stitching straight from that your waistline till the bust point. Remember, on your fabric, you are not cutting the dart open. I cut it open because this is a paper. On the fabric, you just have to cut open on the paper, and when you place it on your fabric, you draw in the dart. Draw it in, and then you stitch it from the very waistline all the way to the bust point. I hope that is explained properly. So of course you're going to be having something like this. Remember, the more fullness you have, the more flare you're going to have. And please do not add very much fullness so that you don't end up making your waistline, get so free. But no matter what, the waistline isn't going to be free because the tilting is not affecting the waistline. It's affecting just that hip region after the waistline, your tummy area. That's where it's affecting if you watch closely. So now heading over to the back, this is what it looks like. Okay, so you want to make sure that this very part of the cape aligns with the part that you're going to be using for the back. When you're cutting this on your fabric, please make sure you align the front to the back so you do not end up having wrong side at the right side and right side at the wrong side. Please, I actually made that mistake in the formal video or here because I'm trying to use paper and I'm also trying to use the part where my pen is to explain to you guys, to illustrate to you guys so you guys will understand better. But when you're cutting on your fabric, please be sure that you align the front and the back to make sure that you're cutting these things right, because this kind of designs can actually be technical, so you want to make sure you're cutting it right. Now I'm going to be placing my back sleeve that we actually used for the front and the part of the back. Now I'm placing it to the back bodice like so. Of course, we are trying to create the cape design of the back, okay? So now I'm going to be measuring, of course, the sleeve, the cape length. That is the part of the sleeve, okay, which went into the cape. And of course, if you marked it at the front area, it's also going to be showing at that back. The center part of it is going to be showing, so that would give you a whole lot ease. I'll be joining this center back to the center sleeve. I'm trying to make sure that everything is in alignment, as you can see. And remember that 1 inch on the shoulder for the front, because the cape is not an off shoulder. You also have to take the 1 inch at the back. So this is our actual cape for the back, okay? I'm not contouring the neckline for the back because if you look closely, you find out that the cutout is actually it's not a cutout. It's just like a basic back neckline, okay? So there's nothing to contour there. You only contour when you have something that is deep, so it does not gap. Now this is just like the basics, so we're not contouring the back neckline like we did for that collar design. So I've traced it out and this is what it looks like. And I'll go ahead to cut out the sleeve. We'll discard it because we no longer need it. We've gotten our cape from the sleeve. That was why we had the sleeve initially. So now we're taking it out from the bodice because we no longer need it. So this is what it looks like, okay? Now heading back to our basic, to the front, okay, that very part of the sleeve that is gathered, we're going to be working on it alongside that of the back also. You also want to place the back of the side of the back, which is going to have that kind of sleeve. You want to make sure that these things align. That was why I said you have to be very careful and observant while making this design, because it's not something like when you cut on fold and you have the same thing. One side is different from the other side, so you have to be careful with whatever you're doing so you don't cut wrongly on your fabric. That is even the most important part. So you don't use your fabric in a way that is not supposed to be. Okay, so whatever you are doing, please focus and be sure you are doing it properly, especially when you have drafted your pattern and you're cutting on the fabric. Be sure you align the front and the back to make sure that when you're sewing, right side will face right side and wrong side will face wrong side. Please, very necessary. So now that I've gone ahead to trace out that part of the sleeve, following what we did to the front, I'm going to be swooping the neckline of the back also, like so. So this is that part of the sleeve for the back. This is what it looks like. Okay. So at this junction, I think the next thing to do, or the next thing to do rather, is to work on the lower bodice to get that peplum effect. Okay. So like I said, the same thing we did to the back, to the front rather, is what we're going to be doing to the back. It's same. It is same principle. It's same thing. So I've already done that on the back, and this is the front. Okay. Like I said, you see that very thing I talked about. My right side is facing my wrong side. So when I sew, if this happens to be my fabric, it's not going to be good because I'm going to be having the right side facing the wrong side. Like, how do I even explain to you guys? But if you're watching, you should understand what I'm trying to say. So now we're going to working on the cape of the front. Remember that the contour neckline that went into the cape, and of course we'll go ahead to close it. And to close it, we had to cut at the center line of the dart, or we'll just have to cut at the tip of the dart and close up the dart, thereby adding more fullness to the cape, which is actually very professional and it will give you a nice fit. Okay. The reason why we are closing this up is so that it aligns with the neckline area, the swooped or the asymmetric neckline. If you do not close up that neckline dart at the cape, of course it's not going to align when you sew it on the bodice. So in order for it to align, we have to close it up and open it at the end of the cape to add more fullness to the cape, which is going to be very beautiful. And it's also the standard, that's the standard way of closing this dart. So here it is like so. I'll go ahead and add fresh pattern papers to close up that part. So now we're going to be joining the cape of the back and the front together. You also want to consider the 1-inch sleeve area, the 1-inch armhole area. Okay, you also want to sew that part up on your sewing machine to the 1 inch of the bodice. I hope that's explainable. Okay. So I'm trying to join that 1-inch shoulder of the front and the back together like so. Whichever way you know that attaching this sleeve will be easier for you, you have to do it. So long as you get your patterns right, the design will come out beautiful and nice. So long as you've gotten your pattern nice, your pattern straight and okay, the design will come out beautiful. For the easiest method, you want to attach the sleeves first. Then of course, you're going to be taping down the both sides of the center sleeve together, and it's going to give you this kind of pointy, shape at the shoulder area, at that 1-inch shoulder area, which is going to be very beautiful. So that is what I'm trying to join here, you guys. Because I'm using a paper, I'm trying to be careful so I do not rip it off. But of course, your fabric is pliable. You can turn it around whichever way you want. So on the fabric, it will be easier to sew. But since I'm using a paper, I'm trying to make sure that I do not rip the paper. That's why I'm trying to be very careful. But your fabric is pliable. You can just turn it around whichever way you want. So I'm gonna have to join it up, and of course we'll join the neckline and also the zipper area, because the cape actually went into the zipper area. So we'll go ahead to join all those ones together right now. And of course the sides also. you guys, this is what it looks like. This is that part where you put in your sleeve, your hand, sorry. And also, we're going to be attaching that very part of the gathered sleeve. So now, firstly, you want to join this sleeve together. You can do this separately. You can do it together like I'm doing now. You can decide to gather the front separately, the back separately, and you have a stitch joining them together at the shoulder point. But here, I decided to do it together. Okay, whichever way is easier for you. I think doing it separately is going to be easier for you if you're a beginner. So just do it separately, okay? Then, of course, you have to attach it to the front and to the back, following the notches you made from your pattern. And you guys, that is the end of it for this tutorial. Please be very careful of that back area of your cutting on the fabric so you do not make a mistake. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.